finishing up the nervous system, we're going to talk about the senses. To do that, we need to discuss the difference between sensation and perception. A few fundamental things. We'll look at some types of receptors, some easy ones like touch and temperature, but then also some complicated ones like vision sensors or smell sensors. And then we look at adaptability for the nervous system, and that goes together with receptive fields. And from there, we're going to move straight to the special senses, and we talk about the sense of vision, the sense of hearing, and equilibrium, and the sense of taste and smell. But first, let's talk about some fundamentals here. Sensation is the awareness that something happened, either on the outside, like you hear something outside, or in the inside of the body, like a pain, for example. Perception is then a conscious interpretation of what we have felt, or what we've heard. So that's an interpretation, that's not just the stimulus being registered in consciousness. This is actually interesting. This is where a lot of Buddhist, or no, not Buddhist only, just a lot of modern psychology thinking goes into the suffering, where we look at a twisted ankle is a pain, but what do we do with the pain? Are we really struggling with it? Are we really worried about it? Or are we just dealing with it? That difference is the perception difference. And so we can have these two things also differentiated within the basic neurology discussion. When we look at sensory receptors, we have some that lie up superficially in the skin or in mouth area, mucous membrane areas. We got some that are deep, that's more muscle, tendon, joints. We got some that are in the internal, the visceral organs. And then, of course, we got the special senses. Right down here, we talk about smell, we talk about vision, we talk about hearing and equilibrium, and we talk about taste. We can classify a receptor by what type of stimulus does it transduce. Is it a mechanical? That would be pressure or touch. Is it thermal? That would be heat. Is it a chemical, for example, or photo? Like chemical could be an odor that we pick up. And nociception, right here, that describes pain for us, but it actually, from a body's perspective, it describes danger. So noci meaning danger, meaning we got to pay attention to. That is very, very important, because in our modern understanding of pain, we still believe that pain just needs to be gone. However, the body views pain not as an unpleasant thing, but as a danger language, that it can tell us something's going on. So we got to pay attention to the pain and not just numb it, especially not with opioids. That doesn't help. And then we can also classify receptors according to structural complexity. The complex receptors serve our special senses, and the simple receptors transduce general sensations either through free nerve endings or encapsulated ones. And free nerve endings, we can sort of visualize that's down here. You see a free nerve ending down here. We can visualize pain with that. Like you cut yourself, some of these get cut, they get stimulated, that's pain. Touch, for example, on pressure are more done with encapsulated nerve endings, or with encapsulated ones. What we have here is one that looks like an onion. So a lot of them, the nerve ending comes in, and then around it we have cell membrane type material that goes around it like an onion. And when you feel like you can press something down here, you're going to press these onion rings and these layers together, and that fires a nerve impulse off. I like this. Many receptors, thank the Lord, they adapt to a continuous stimulus. That means, for example, we could put a hand in a cold water, we could put a hand in a hot water. Those two will adapt to the temperature they're in, and so we don't feel the cold anymore, or we don't feel the warm or the heat anymore as much, unless of course it's scalding hot, then it's a different story. But when we then take those hands and put them in a lukewarm water, we can feel that adaptation, because the hot water hand will feel cold all of a sudden, and the cold water hand will feel warm all of a sudden. So that's kind of a good way to figure that out. But the adaptation is important, because like you put on a sock or a piece of clothing and you don't feel it anymore after a little bit. If it would be always in your face feeling about it, what else would you be thinking about it? So we need to make brain space free for the brain to think about other things, and not just about the clothes that we're wearing, for example, all the time. And of course this picture I have to put in because we come from an ape and we end up in the same position again. Proprioceptors and pain receptors, the harm receptors, they do not adapt, and that's because of protective reasons. Just think about you walking, and all of a sudden the receptors in the foot, they don't fire back anymore to the brain what's going on underneath the foot, because we're all adapting, and all of a sudden something, we fall down because it's not protecting us anymore. Or the pain, if we, for example, cut ourselves and the thing just adapts, and we don't pay attention to the cut in our skin and we just put dirt in it because we don't remember it, that wouldn't make any sense. So every time we touch an area that we cut, for example, until the cut's healed, it's going to hurt. So we don't touch it. We don't do anything with it. And that makes a lot of sense. I like this chart a lot. This is a thing that actually is not described over here. This is the gate theory. And the gate theory is a thing when we have pain, when we create pain, like we hit the thumb with a hammer, a pain signal goes into the brain. Doom, doom, pain, 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 pain. However, when we then take a finger or whatever, kiss it, whatever, rub the area that we hit, we send a different signal to the brain. We send a proprioceptive signal to the brain, actually, a mechanoreceptive one, and that message will then shut the pain transmission to the brain, and it doesn't happen, or not as much. So that's very, very important to understand why, when we do work with pain, moving is very, very important. So that's a very interesting concept that I just want to mention here because it's so valuable, and for some reason we're not really, talking about it as much as we should. They figured this stuff out in the 50s. Everybody should know that stuff, because it's so difficult for patients to get better when they are in pain and they do not move because they're afraid they're going to hurt themselves again. So we got to bridge that gap a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to move if it hurts much, much more and you do more damage. But most of the time, what you do with movement, you create this situation, you don't make more damage to the tissues. Many receptor cells are responsible to monitor a specific surface area. They call that a receptive field. So that is very well described here. Like this nerve here serves this part of the skin. This nerve here serves this part of the skin. So now what we can do is we can take two pokers, and we can poke, like two prongs. We can poke them here and here. The person thinks it's one poke, not two pokes. But if we now poke it here and widen it out and poke it here, the person all of a sudden thinks, oh, that's two pokes. And so we can actually map out the size of a receptive field. And the larger the size of a receptive field is, the lower the resolution is in the brain. You can feel this. You can take your hand in a pocket and feel which coin is going to be the right one for parking. Like which one is the quarter. But if you have to have a coin laying on your back, I doubt that you could differentiate between a quarter and a dime. And so that's a visual for the receptive field. This is also, the receptive field is also how the sensory cortex, the primary sensory cortex, is organized. And you see how big the areas in there are that represent a body area. It's the same thing like this. It corresponds to this. And so we could take this 2-point discrimination test, which is when we poke it you in two different parts and figure out how big is a receptive field. So we see the tactile receptor distribution that way. That's kind of cool. All right, from there, let's get to special stuff. Let's get to the eye, and let's get to vision. The organ of seeing includes the eyeball with the optic nerve, and then we have accessory organs such as the eyelids, eyelashes, lacrimal apparatus, and extraocular eye muscles. Whew. So basically, we got an eyeball that sees, and we got to have a whole bunch of stuff to help the eyeball. One of the things that help the eyeball are muscles. They actually move the eyeball around. Up, down, sideways, twisted. You know, the pupils coming together, ooh, looking. Then we also have a lacrimal apparatus. We have to make tears. That's the place where we make tears. And then the tears are made up here, and they get sent into the eye, and they flow out down into here. And when we cry a lot, we gotta have a tissue because we need to get rid of the tears that come out of the nose. So that's the lacrimal apparatus. And then we got a few more. We got eyebrows right here. Did I actually put those down? No, I did not. But we have eyebrows, we have eyelashes, we have eyelids, and they all help protect and support the eyeball. The eyebrows, for example, make sure the sweat doesn't get into the eye because that stings, and then we can't see because we have to close the eye. Things like that. But let's first get a little bit to the eyeball. The eyeball lies in the bony orbit, and that is embedded in fatty tissue. So what that means is the eyeball lies in this bony place here, and that we don't bang the ball around. We're gonna have a little fatty tissue around it. That's not the fat we often think of. Oh, I'm fat. It's just, you know, protective tissue that way. We better don't get rid of that fat. That's for sure.